I'd go to the sales 3 or 4 days before the sale, and I promise you, if there were 540 horses at sale, I looked at 500 of them, and I'd go back and I'd make lists of ones I think would be cheaper ones, and ones that were sprinters, and ones that were stayers, and ones were fillies, and ones were colts. I mean, I had lists and lists and lists.
I need to make it very, very clear that I have got full permission and authorization from our very special lady guest on today's In the Box Seat podcast to talk about her age, because she's exceptionally proud of her age, and so she should be, because Andrew and I hope at the age of 73 that we are as strong and we are as fit and we are as healthy as our guest today. It gives me great pleasure to welcome into our studio at the Summerveld Clubhouse a very special lady of the turf and an absolute genius with a horse. Her name is Clodagh Shaw. Clodagh, how are you?
I'm very well, and thank you very much for having me on your show.
What a pleasure. What an absolute. We were so silly because Andrew and I have seen you regularly enjoying your breakfast with your friends at the clubhouse. And the penny took a long time to drop, and I said, but you should have been one of our first guests.
Well, I'm very honored to be on the show, thank you.
Lovely to have you. Andrew, how are you?
I'm good.
Nice weekend. You raced yesterday, did you?
No.
You didn't go?
I didn't.
I saw, is it your family that's down the coast, or is it your daughter, or have you been down the coast?
No, we're down the coast the weekend.
Okay, fantastic. And fishing?
I let the one do some work for a change.
Nothing wrong. Good. So you, normally you're in the bush, this time you chose the coast.
Yeah, well, it was the right price, so
Lovely. Well, nice to have you back from the coast and a good weekend away. But let's get things rolling. I'm going to ask Clodagh, at what stage of your life did you think to yourself, well, I want to be a trainer, I want to be a horse lady, I want to be involved in horses? How did you hear about this wonderful industry?
Well, when I was young, when I was 7, my mother died, and my mother was a very good sportswoman. She got a gold medal at the Empire Games for diving, and she was very much a sportswoman, but she unfortunately died when I was 7.
Sure.
So my dad was deputy mayor of Durban then, and he and I went to stay with his brother. And the neighbors rode horses. So they took me up to the riding school to try and take my mind off my mother dying and one thing. Anyway, that's where the bug bit. And I really, when I was 7, I even had my picture on the front page of the Mercury jumping. I mean, I loved it, I enjoyed it, and I seemed to be reasonably good at it, even when I was young. Then my dad, Cyril Milne became mayor after my dad, and he had racehorses. And he said to me the one day, I will give you a horse off the track. And I think I was 10. Oh, that made my day. It was, anyway, he gave me a black filly called Petty Palais. She'd won 3, and she was by Netherwood from Plattsburgh stud. And so we decided I jumped her for about a year or so, and then my dad took me to school in Switzerland, so we put her in foal. And cut long story short, she had a foal, which incidentally was absolutely useless. And Dad was very friendly with Douglas Sanders, Chris Sanders' dad, so he said, oh, you must give it to Tony Finesse to train. So they went off to Newmarket, and then shortly after that, Newmarket closed, and he came up to Summerveld. But Summerveld, of course, wasn't like it is now. There were no shops, a lot of the grooms left, and there were 3 or 4 trainers here, and they were really battling because they couldn't get the horses out. Grooms weren't, a lot of the grooms weren't here. So I said to Tony, can I come and groom a horse? He said, never mind groom it, you better come and ride it, So anyway, that's how I started learning to ride work as opposed to show jumping. And I was with Tony for many, many years. I was obviously still at school. I was 16 when Summerveld opened, and I was still at school. So I obviously could come on the holidays and on the weekends and ride work. And then I just got so into it, I ended up working for Tony as an assistant trainer. He was my mentor. I learned so much from Tony, and I was with Tony. Oh God, I was assistant to him for about 10 years, but I was probably with him for 15 years. And my heart was just racing.
That was it, you were racing over there.
That was it. Then I went to Herman Brown for 2 years, and then I got my own license in 84. Yeah.
So your license was 1984 you started, okay.
Yes.
Now just Tony finished, just listening, not even 3 minutes into the discussion with Clodagh, the names of, the history, all the Mr. Furness, etc. But now our good friend trained with Tony Furness, Dean, didn't he? Dean Latimer. Was
Yes.
It? Yeah,
Well,
Dean
they're good
Latimer.
mates. Yeah.
Good mates, and
Yes.
Tony's living in Hillcrest. Is that correct?
It will Gillets, yes.
Gillets,
Yes.
okay. So he's still very much around. And,
Yeah.
And that's right, Dean Latimer. So you remember Dean?
Oh,
of course.
very, very well. Yeah.
Larger than life, Dean.
Larger than life, then, yeah.
More large than life at the moment.
Okay, so it was 80, refresh my memory, 1980?
84.
84. So in 1984 you started. How many horses did you start with?
I had six. And I had, as you come into Summerfeld, the first 22 stables on the left, the kittens had a stable, the chaff cutter had a stable. I had 6 horses, including my jumper.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Clodagh, at the height of your career, how many did you have? I mean, what was the biggest your string ever
About
was?
somewhere between 120 and 150.
Sure. Okay, so
Yeah.
that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Then, at what year did you hand in your license? What year did you
2003.
retire? 2003. Okay.
Yeah.
Your very first winner, we were just chatting over a
Yeah.
cup of tea a moment ago, was a horse called Rage.
Yes.
Which, that's got a fascinating story. You might want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I was always, as I say, into show jumping, and even when I was when I was an assistant, if I had any spare time, I'd always have 1 or 2 horses at home that I used to ride or show jump, and if I had a Sunday off, I'd go and jump in a show because I love it. And Rage became available off the track. He belonged to Des Scott and Benji Johnson. They'd paid a lot of money from 82 or thereabouts because they wanted a stayer. Anyway, he didn't prove to be any kind of stayer, and as a 4-year-old, he was sold to me as a show jumper. So I'd had him 9 months when I started training, and I was battling to get 12 horses together, to get an open license. So I phoned Benji and Des, who I knew well, and I said, look, I'm just starting training. I'm trying to get these horses together. Meantime, I was thinking, I hope they would race the horse, because A, it would be another horse.
And you need an owner.
It'd be a nice owner, and 2 nice prestigious names in your stable.
Yeah, but Jockey Club, it was a bit stiff in those days.
Not to be. They said, oh, no, that won't call you what called him, and not very nice names. You have him, and you can do what you like with him, race him, do what you like with him. And he was my first winner over 2,000 meters. He won by 4 lengths at Greyville. Patrick Wynn, he rode my first winner. Then he went to Joburg, and he won over 2,000. He won over 2,4, I think, with Patrick Wynn. He went to Joburg, he won over 2,000 with Toby Van Boemer, broke the class record. Then he came back here. We had 1 or 2, obviously, races in between. Mace won on him in Maritzburg, and I told Mace to drop him out to last. Mace nearly fell over. He said, last. I said, last. And he was favourite. And going to the 1,200, the commentator saying it rages 25 lengths out of his ground. And Mace was just, like it was way, way, way back. Yeah. Anyway, he won. He won by about 3 lengths. Then he came back, and I raced him. I raced went back to Greyville, and he won the British Airways Handicap in the pouring rain. And old Des and Bill Benji used to say, "Thank God, the only stayer we had, we sold as a jumper."
But what do you think would have changed? I mean, yes, different training techniques, etc., etc. We understand all that. But do you think maybe you said there was you jumped him for 9 months? Do you think that would have helped him develop mentally and physically, and maybe that helped
I think
too?
he was probably a slow maturer.
Okay.
But I think. I used to ride a lot of work myself, and when I first started training, I had 6 horses. I rode them all.
Yeah.
Was owner trainer?
No, I had a public license.
You had a public license.
Yeah, but that's all I had to start with. Okay. And so I used to ride my own work, and I think, Aubrey Roberts trained him before, and to take nothing away from Aubrey, was a great trainer, but Aubrey's forte was sprinters.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that maybe different training methods, different thing. I used to sometimes ride him from the 1800 here, on the sand, and build up slowly. So he got quite a lot of distance training. Yes. Who knows? One horse can do one thing with one trainer and another thing with another trainer. Absolutely. But and then our big thing was the Gold Cup, and we thought, honestly, Gene, everybody's horse runs in the Gold Cup, you're hoping, but we really gave him a huge chance. The further he went, the better he was. And Gavin Van Zyl was on him in the pens, and a horse next to him went stupid in the pens just before they were going to pull the gate. Then Rage got a little bit, he wasn't stupid, but he got a little bit twitchy with the thing. So Gavin got off him and they pulled the gates and he came out without a jockey. So that was a bit of a disappointment. Yeah.
But you know,
Well, Homer was declared a non-runner.
It wasn't either. No.
But you know, interesting, we're talking about, and times have changed, you know, the newer owner, the modern type of horse, etc. You know, I think some owners, including myself, are quick to sort of give up. You know, you can see if you give a horse 3 runs and it's finished 39 lengths, 45 lengths, 50 lengths, you know, you're wasting your time. But so many horses seem to develop as they get older. I mean, I'm using Princess Kala as an example. She was a champion from day one, but she's just, in my opinion, as the older she's got,
just got better and better.
Correct. So, yeah, we quick to
But
get away too quickly.
most owners today don't have the patience.
Yeah,
There's
all the
also
money.
patience and the money,
Yeah,
absolutely.
the thing is, you need patience and money.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
And there are not too many races for slayers anymore.
Yeah,
Not
well,
the
that's
prestigious ones.
That's a
Yeah,
thing.
but the Gold Cup used to be grade 1, it's now grade 3. I mean,
Yeah.
Clodagh, what is your current involvement with horses at the moment? I say horses, but in racing, jumping, I mean, you're still very much involved.
Yeah, as we speak, I don't have anything in training. I tried to buy a yearling at a 2-year-old, at the last sale, but for me, for it to be fun, I can't afford to spend hundreds and hundreds of grand. It's got to be the right price and thing, and it just didn't come right. But I will have another horse in training. But I also have show jumpers, and they're also expensive, to keep. But I've got at the moment got 5 show jumpers. I've got an imported Irish horse that is absolutely phenomenal. He is my child. He is amazing, and he's a very, very good show jumper. I am competing in what you would probably call in the medium middle ranks of show jumping. I jump 120, which is, if you go one step up to 130, you're in the open classes. So I'm just below at my age, I'm happy there, and I'm not frightened of riding. I'm frightened of falling off. You don't bounce so well.
Don't bounce so well.
Yeah. And I've got a couple of young horses. I've got Jacqueline from Jill Dreyer.
Yes, that's right.
She is superb. She's just ready to go to a show. And I've got Grimaldi that Mary Snack owned.
Yes,
and I've got John's Castle that I got just the other day.
Isn't Grimaldi the most beautiful horse?
Oh, and I love him.
Candice took a photograph of me with Grimaldi some time ago.
at least the horse is better looking than
She
you.
must look for it.
She must look. I'll ask her to look for it. It is. He's just a
He's
gorgeous horse.
lovable. Absolutely lovable. Yeah.
So, Clodagh, do you jump all your own horses? Or you don't?
Yes, at the moment, I've also had a problem. I've got a tear in my rotator cuff at the moment, so I haven't been riding as much as usual. Yeah. But I do ride Cool Green Ben. He's my Irish horse. Only I ride him. And a few younger horses. Courtney Webber from Grant Langley's she's a top rider. She's been jumping them in shows. So I've stayed off the younger horses and just ridden the one while I try and get my shoulder right.
Talking about ladies of the turf, wasn't it lovely to see, and I'm sure you've caught up on the results, to see Mary Lally have a double yesterday?
Oh my word, and she looks so well.
I mean, absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, she's as strong as an ox and she's lovely. She invests in the game and she just loves
she
it.
deserves it.
That's a nice horse she's got there, King of the Gauls.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think the other one too is also a smart-looking horse. Yeah. But we often talk about how trainers and owners, you can notice that they pick a certain horse.
Yeah,
and
like a
Tony
type.
certainly does. And I tell you, they're both magnificent looking
Lovely
specimens.
horses, yeah.
Okay, you still got friends in racing, Clodagh?
Oh, lots of friends in racing. Lots and lots and lots of friends.
Keep track of the results. And
I watch racing every
meeting.
I don't watch so much out of provinces one, but all our ones I watch. Yeah, and chuck this one home and that one home, and send messages. And, I'm very much into the racing, and also I follow the breeding. I love the breeding, and I follow the breeding for racing, and I also follow the breeding for show jumping because there's certain stallions that produce good show jumpers, and you're always looking for the next champion.
Are you allowed to tell us which stallions produce good show jumpers?
Yes. Well, one of the old ones
Upset the
that's now
breeders.
you've got to find the mares is Eliodor. Anything out of an Eliodor mare is a superstar. Some of the Master of My Fate jump. Visionaire, he's another one.
I believe the Visionaires
A very good. JPEG, he's another one.
Okay.
Anything out by JPEG, and I'm told that Willow Magic has got a very good pedigree. The other one that was outstanding was Marchfield, but now he didn't prove much for the
On the
racing,
track,
and he's gone to Namibia to cover warm blood mares there. But you're trying to look for, those sort of horses, and try and get in the hunt to get them when they're finished.
Is there ever a situation where, with the racehorses, you look at them at the sales, you look at the pedigree, you bring them onto the tracks, and they're unfortunately no good? Do you get that with jumpers as well, where you've got the pedigree,
yes.
you've got the looks, etc.?
100%.
Is that so?
100%. Not all of them can jump.
Okay.
They can jump to a certain degree,
But they can't go to the next
but
level.
then they're not talented. They don't use themselves the right way. They're just careless. Some
They
of
can
them.
get over a cavalitti, they're all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Another racing family and now jumping, whom we've got to know so well, of course, is Sue and Jodie Peters.
Yes, they're very good
She's a very
friends of
good
mine.
jumper, isn't she?
Yeah.
Jodie.
Jodie's top class.
Top class, yeah.
Top
She's very
class.
good. You've been to their farm just down the
Yeah.
road. You better
Very-
be quick because they relocating to Joburg. They're putting the highway straight over the farm.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? They were there the other day
Unbelievable,
looking at some
yeah.
photos. Yes, just down Placenta Place. As you go down the
Straight to Drummond.
Okay.
Drummond,
Yeah.
The whole lot
Yeah.
of those farms have been bought out for the highway to go through.
I hope
Yeah.
they've got a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about some of. We can't talk about them all, but for the public out there, I mean, you've trained some top quality horses.
I have. I've been very lucky, and it's been amazing because I had to struggle a little bit to start with. I had one top price filly, Stolen Gem, and Rob Knapper bought her when he first started racing, and she did very well for me. But other than her, I had to struggle at the sales a bit. Particularly to start with, and I'd get 50 grand or 60 grand. I know it was a long time, but the average was then maybe 450 or 500, So you were looking. Goldfire cost 70,000 rand. He won the Smirnoff. He won, I think, 6 or 7 races. He was absolutely phenomenal. And his owners said to me, we want to buy a horse and we want a racehorse because we've got a tax problem. But you should have seen them when they won the Smirnoff. They were dancing, and I mean, they were beside themselves. It's the hell with the tax problem. No, they were really, really good people. No, they were good. Then I had Savannah Queen. She was champion 2-year-old, 3-year-old. She cost 65,000.
Sure.
And then I bought her for the Gaffneys, and then the following year I bought Donatella for the Gaffneys for the same price, for 65,000 rand. And she was a funny grey colour, and they asked me why I bought them a township horse. But stupidly, I should have said to them, all right, I'll have her, and I'll get you another one. But they got to like her.
I'm sure they did. And your group ones and just.
I had State Treasure. She was half sister to Stolen Gem. She won the Fillies Guineas. In Joburg, and I've won the Paddock Stakes. I've won the Paddock Stakes once or twice, and I've won quite a few feature races in Cape Town. I won the Derby. I won the Lonsdale with Biometry here, and Western Prospect we bred ourselves.
Western Prospect.
I mean, there was a thing. I mean, I bred Western Prospect, and I had him. He had one run for me before I gave up training, and he didn't show us much. Yeah, he really didn't show us much, and I thought, gosh, this one's not too good, Anyway, I ran him over 40. He's a big, tall, lanky horse, and I ran him over 1,400 meters because I just thought, no, 1,200. He should really go down the straight, a big horse like that. But he was my own horse, so I didn't have to make any excuses to anybody. And he was at Clearwood, 1,400 meters. I promise you, they hadn't gone a furlong, and he was 2 lengths last. And I thought,
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, he turned for home. He came from last and ran second. I got so many offers for him. I got offered R1 million for him.
Sure.
In those days was a lot of money. I thought, no, this is my boy. I bred him. Yeah. But he won 8 races.
Well,
He won the Lonsdale. He won the Clearwood Derby. He was champion at 3-year-old. He won the Elevation Stakes in Joburg. And he won. He was won 8. He retired at my house, and he died about 2 years ago. But he was very pampered, and he went when Neil Bruss gave up training. He went to Alec Laird, and Neil won the Elevation Stakes with him. I've been very fortunate to have really good, really top horses, but I've had to look for them. but we found him, and it's always been.
So you're obviously a good judge of a young horse.
Well, I've been lucky, but a lot of lucky.
Give yourself a bit more credit than that. Give yourself
But,
a bit
I
more
loved
credit.
it. I loved it. I'd go to the sale 3 or 4 days before the sale, and I promise you, if there were 540 horses at sale, I looked at 500 of them, and I'd go back and I'd make lists of ones I think would be cheaper ones, and ones that were sprinters, and ones that were stayers, and ones were fillies, and ones were colts. I mean, I had lists and lists and lists. And it just, I just loved it. I loved doing it. Everything for me was a passion.
It's a passion,
you know.
yeah. That's
Tell me, Clodagh, why did you give up?
You know what?
So
I
young.
think, look, my father always used to say, you can't take a quart out of a pint pot. And I used to work. I'm not saying other trainers don't work. They all work very hard. But I worked particularly hard. I mean, I was at the track at 4:30. I'd leave at 11:30, and then I'd go to the do shopping, push the trolley around the thing. So it wasn't really much like having a break in the day. Then I'd go be back at 2 and get home at 5:30 or 6. I mean, Steve used to say to me, can't you, at 7 o'clock while I was asleep on the sofa, can't you stay awake to watch the news? I said, no, I was finished. And I did that for a long time.
Yes.
And I think at the end, some of the labour problems, and they started with the strikes and the things, and I was in my yard the one morning when there was a strike, and I was on my own there, and I had like 80 horses, 100 horses, and I was in the one barn, and you could just hear them screaming and shouting on the other side of the wall, and I thought, no, why am I doing this? It wasn't a pleasant experience. And it was that, and there was an odd owner that didn't pay, and I just thought, no, you know what? Actually, Brown Baker said to me, why do you do this? When I gave up, I think I was 4th or 5th on the trainer's log, so it wasn't like I wasn't
achieving or
any.
doing
I've
well.
actually got Achievement of the Year that year.
Okay.
I've got it on my wall at home. But he said, what are you trying to prove? I was champion trainer the one year, I had 72 winners, so I wasn't a TAL champion trainer. Got a name on the belt. It was very nice. But
That was the Ernie Duffield belt.
Yes, but it was all Payne, Herman Brown, Ricky Maingard, and that was it, and me.
Clothes, when you were at the races, I always make a fun and laugh and joke with trainer Alison Wright, because she loves to cheer her horses home.
Yeah,
Most loved it. You used to cheer them
like
home?
a fishwife. I used to scream them, even at home here. Okay. I think my mate sometimes thinks I'm being murdered there. I'm screaming at them.
Good, that's what it's all about.
I love
That's the greatest
I love
cheer.
it. Yeah.
I mean, you've been around me terrible. Where we moved into a complex years ago, we've only got 7 units in our complex, and I think on our first weekend in, the chair lady sent an SMS. Is everybody okay? You're having a row with your wife? I said, no. We just won the 4th race. Now, of course, I've shouted and screamed. Nobody bats an eye. But of course, it's.
When you talk about making a noise, I had a horse called Secret Ring that Alan Sutherland bred, and he ran once. Yeah, he ran. We thought he would win as far as he liked. He ran second to Taban. We had to find him.
Yeah.
Anyway, he got nominated him for the Million race in Joburg, and he got in just scraped in. And he ran in that race, and he ran second in that as a maiden. He ran second in that race, and he won 140,000 rand, which was flipping.
Yeah, in those days, huge. Yeah.
Bloody fortune. So we were all staying at the Rosebank. Well, I must tell you, first of all, when I ran, I was downstairs watching. When I ran up the stairs, I split my skirt right up to my bum, and I actually didn't care, So, beside myself, and we were staying at the Rosebank Hotel, and you can imagine Alan Sutherland at Brenham was there, and we were all there, and I had a share in him, Craig Kenton had a share in him, anyway, we were all there. And we were making one hell of a bloody racket, having it, and the chap in charge, the manager there, came over and said, I wonder if you wouldn't mind keeping it down a bit. The people over there are complaining. And Steve said to them, we just run second in the Million. We're not keeping it down for anybody. And I think they worked out they were going to get a better tip from us.
So they said, they rather went to ask them to just suck it up for a bit. Lovely. Yeah, that was also good. Not that there's not good parties and good celebrations nowadays, but
those were the days.
Those are the days of good parties and the good celebrations.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, you've touched on some good breeders as well, but you were surrounded by, and we still are to this day, good riders. Let's talk about a few good riders in your day. Wow, you must have seen them come through.
Well, you see them come and go, and yeah. My favourite riders was always Jeff Lloyd, Mace. They used to ride. Jeff, I remember the one year I went to. I used to go to Cape Town every year, but the one year I went, and Lance was here. He did an excellent job. Lance Robertson. He was a fantastic assistant. I was always very fortunate to have Freddie Chappelle prior to Lance. But I was in Cape Town, and I think we had quite a few seconds and the odd winner in Durban while I was in Cape Town. And I think every single year, I went to Cape Town 12 years, I won a feature. I was just even if it was a Greenpoint Stakes, it was as I say, one of those, paddock stakes or one of the races there. But Lance was here, and I came back at the end of January, and Jeff rode for me from January to the end of June. He rode 32 winners for me.
Sure.
All the seconds, I think he rode 32 winners. So Jeff and I were very good friends, and he was extremely good jockey. Mace is but there are lots of good. Gavin was my stable. Robbie Frad was my stable jockey. There were some really, really top jockeys.
Basil rode a few.
Basil rode a lot of horses for me. Basil was my best mate because I used to ride with him when I was working for Herman. Basil rode a lot of winners for me, and I also got given a few apprentices, and I think we worked together. And I mean, Hadley Augustus Jack, he's passed on now. He was the nicest. He rode Five Stanza. He won nearly everything on Five. He won 3 or 4 on Five Stanza, and he came as a battling little apprentice, to me. But we tried to give him some chances, and he ended up champion apprentice. Yeah, and I was very lucky. But we worked together, and he used to come to the stables. And when we were in Cape Town, he came to Cape Town with me. I remember him sitting on Five's Dancer in the beach in the sea with his back to the waves, and I could see this flipping wave coming. I said, "I'm shouting, Jack!" Of course, you couldn't hear me. The wave went like almost overhead, like right over on top of him.
Those are the days where apprentices were sort of assigned to a trainer.
Yes.
You wanted to be a jockey, you were
I
telling
wanted
us.
to be a jockey. I was desperate to be a jockey. And but there were no, they only had ladies races.
Of which you were very successful.
Yeah, I won 5. I won 5. I won my first one in PE. I won 1 here for Johnny McCready and 3 for Ralph Rickson in Cape Town. Yeah.
Okay.
Who were you up against in those days?
We had good riders. Carol Millard, she was a good rider.
Gail, I think.
Gail Uppink. Yeah, there were some really, good riders there.
Wendy rode in a few as well.
Wendy rode in 1 or 2,
yeah.
A friend of mine overseas, Carol Coates, she rode in the first one here. God, the first one I rode in here. Oh, there was some horse I was supposed to have ridden, and I can't remember. It got sick or something happened to it. Then we would have had a good chance. So I ended up riding. The academy provided a horse for me to ride called French Affair. Well, first of all, it was 2 bricks and a ticky high, and mad. Well, had fallen. It lay down on the way to the start. It threw itself on the clearwood. It threw itself on the ground, going down to the start. It was absolutely mad, and they even had a picture of it falling on the ground, saying it's a filibuster. No, that was terrible.
Result not a place.
It was mad. I got back on. No, but Ralph Rickson always used to try and find. Good rides. I mean, not all favourites, 10 to 1 shots. I won a short head on a 10 to 1 shot of his. And I rode Martinet that ran 4th in the Derby. He was quite a strong ride. Royas Ferry was Ralph's jockey, and he was a strong guy. And he almost got a suspension from running around in a race. Anyway, he put him in a 1,200 metre race, and he said to me, just sit about 3 lengths off the pace. 3 lengths. The one horse down the inside went 10 lengths clear. Now I'm just sitting just behind, but I was on the outside. And this is a 1.5 mile horse. Sure. Anyway, he went, and when I started to run, he started to hang, and I'm changing my stick and trying to keep him straight, and the commentators, Martinet running all over the place. Anyway, I kept him straight. He won by 2.5 lengths. It took me another 4 furlongs to put him up.
Oh, these are lovely stories.
Yeah, but it was fun. No, I used to love it, and I would have loved to have been a jockey.
Were you ever a betting lady? Did you enjoy the tickle?
I always used to say my 5 rand stop trains. But, the one thing also, I used to run a lot of work for Fred Rickaby. and they imported some lady ride. I can't remember which one was the first one. I think it was Kathy Kutch. No, one of them they brought out here to ride. And they asked Fred Rickaby to give her a couple of rides. He said, on principle, he said, you won't give her a license, I'm scratching all my runners. And he scratched all his runners the next day.
Sure.
Yeah, he said, it's ridiculous. He said, she can't get a license, but you bring in a
Overseas.
yeah, oh, no, he wasn't happy.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
yeah, no, it was, I had lots of supporters, and I love racing. And, you know, even at the end, when, if I had, say, two of my, or a horse, or two runners, and they were my own, or whatever, I'd send to answer the race. I'd just like to be at the stable.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Just love the horses, make sure they came back okay, lots of bedding. I love horses.
Sorry, you were talking about some trainers, but
I'm talking about Freddie Chappelle. I mean, he worked for you for quite a long time.
He did. He was.
Yeah.
He was the first trainer to have a 3-year-old to win the July. He had migraine, and Freddie was fantastic. Freddie was just a solid, quiet, very knowledgeable, you know, thing, and he could pick up. And I think, how can I put it? I think a lot of trainers today, particularly the new trainers and inexperienced trainers, are not fortunate to have, like I had, didn't have Freddie. I mean, I've worked with horses and show jumpers and legs, and in fact, I'd also been to sidetrack. Brian Baker sent me to the Equine Research Station when I was 19 in Newmarket in England, and I took x-rays and did bloods and anesthetics and all sorts of things. I used to learn, I could read bloods better than a vet. You know, I was fortunate to have that training. But checking horses' legs. I mean, Freddie came to me the one day, and I'm in the office trying to phone owners and do sort a whole lot of stuff out. He said, just come and have a look. So Savannah Queen. I said, don't tell me there's something wrong with it. Just don't tell me. He said, no, just come and have a look. And just on the top of a joint, if this was a joint, there was like, I promise you, a little lump as big as that. I mean, you had to look for it. He said, Todd, just be careful. Well, we had a joint sorted, gave her 3 weeks off, perfect. But it would be so easy to miss. Give it a gallop on a hard track, and you could have had a problem. But that was attention to detail, and it comes from experience and being there, and that's where I was very fortunate.
I remember Freddie was a hard bloke to talk to because he never said anything.
Never said, no, he didn't say much. Yeah, no, he didn't say a lot. Yeah.
And also, you touched on the good jocks. They're also top trainers in your years. And
there were so many. You know, you always get. I mean, David Payne was a top trainer. Herman Brown was a top trainer. There were just so many. Buller Benton and Alfred Rickaby. They were all. You know, they were good. They were really top trainers. Tony Finesse won the Gold Cup twice. We won with Hedge and Falvest. You know, he was a very good trainer very good trainer, but a very good trainer of status.
Clodagh, I'll never forget, I was telling Andrew a moment ago, had the privilege of being at a luncheon with you at the Dempsey family up the hill here, and you were keeping us well entertained, and you can tell us a lovely story about, you always used to tell your jockeys, you hated them going wide.
Yeah.
They must commit. Was your...
Yeah, I always used to think, you know what, it's always difficult, particularly if you've got a wide draw. But generally speaking, you know, when we're not talking about training champions, we're talking about training the average horse. You get caught 4 horses wide, 5 horses, very difficult to come back. I'd rather say to them, if a horse had a bit of speed, use your speed, get up third, fourth, if you can. If it's got absolutely no speed, or drop it in behind and let it run on. Because it used to freak me out when they were 4 or 5 wide.
And it's so true, because I mean, I've never ridden a horse. I'm not professing to be a crit on rides and things, but I've watched a few races in my time. But you're quite right, and there was actually 2 horses over the past week that, for whatever reason, that for wide, and I just watched them, thinking about chatting to you this week. And they both died a natural death. It's hard, unless they're the really top ones. It's hard for your average run-of-the-mill horse to
really
use
hard.
all that petrol and then find a finish.
Yeah, I think it's a class of horses you're running. I mean, the average run-of-the-mill horse can't do that. But the good ones can.
They just can't do it,
Mind you, I was watching Keegan DeMello in Hong Kong. He rode.
Oh, how did he go on the weekend? I meant
he ran 4th and 5th, but I watched the last race. He rode a horse called Prime Minister with a 50-1 chance.
Okay.
I mean, he was drawn wide, managed to get onto the rail, took the inside gap, and he pushed it through. Just beaten. He ran 5th. He ran a hell of a race. I reckon he'll make it in Hong Kong.
Yeah, he's really good.
I think those places, like we're in Hong Kong, they seem to run very, very wide, and you watch some horses in the UK, they seem to run very wide into the straight. I mean, I don't know, maybe racing's different there, or in Hong Kong they go a lot faster, than we seem to go along. I've never been there, but they seem to go along a lot faster.
They do, I think, yeah.
Were you always training? I mean, you said you raided Cape Town, Jockeys, but you were always Summerfeld.
Always Summerfeld. Yeah,
Okay.
always Summerfeld.
What was your favourite race course, Clodagh?
Gravel.
Okay.
Gravel. Always Gravel. That's where my first winner, but I loved Gravel.
Okay.
I loved Gravel.
Yeah. Okay. What is your advice to some trainers, the young, especially the younger ones that are coming out and have the passion and have the love and want to make a success of it? What's your advice to them?
You know, I always say, I don't know, not everybody's the same, but I was always used to look for, not criticism, but help. You know, like if I was not sure, I'd go and speak to them, what would you do with this horse or what would you do with that horse? And I think if you're prepared to be a bit humble and get a bit of advice if you're stuck on something is a big thing, to pay attention to your horses. For me, I had a thing about bedding. Horses had to have plenty bedding because, you know, you sometimes get a little bit light bedding. You've got youngsters, they're working, they're growing, they want to lie down, and if they're, you know, not enough bedding, they're not so keen to lie down, they don't rest their legs. That was a thing of mine. And I just think that, you know, the horse comes first. You've got to do whatever you can for the horse to come first. Learn, pay attention to looking after the legs, because at the end of the day, if you've got no legs, you've got no horse. You've got no horse.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Also, today, in today's day, and I know that you're still very friendly with Wendy, etc., but you must be very proud of, you know, all the trainers, men and women, but we're talking about the lady trainers around the country. I mean, Diane Stenger has been doing so well.
Jean Barnard.
Absolutely. And Corinne Sabb has just retired.
And she died not so long. And God, my mind's gone blank.
And Upton.
Yeah.
And she passed away.
Yes, she did. She was and Eileen Bestell.
Eileen Bestell, another good horsewoman. But Anne's husband, is he still around?
Lou, no, he died long ago.
Did he pass away too? Okay, shame. But yeah, so there's so many.
They were really.
And young lady trainers, Lucinda Woodruff down at the Cape, and we're forgetting to name them all, but there's good lady trainers.
Very good.
So
very good lady trainers,
Okay, we're sort of in the home straight, but you talk about horses, you talk about sales, breeding, etc. And you go to the sales and you see R1 horses, 2, 7, 8 million rand horses, you get 50 grand horses. But what is your opinion, I mean, to owners out there? Yes, we want to buy horses, we want to get the breeders to get the best prices, but are you of the opinion that you have to spend $1 million and more?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. No, I think it's also up to the trainer. You got to do your homework. Yes. You've got to make allowances for things. You haven't got R1 million, you've got 100 grand, you know, to spend. So you're not going to get the pedigree, the perfect specimen. You know, you're going to have to give way somewhere, and you're either going to say, all right, well, I'll go for something not so fashionably bred that's got good conformation, or I'm going to go. I always used to look at the dam line. That's how I bought Savannah Queen. Okay. She was my Flaming Rock first season sire. Nobody wanted Flaming Rock, and she was out of a very good dam line. Donatella similar, and I always used to go for the dam and take a chance with a stallion. If I was trying to buy cheaper horses, and then sometimes, I mean, they're just horses that take your fancy. You know, when I first started training, I'd only been training, I think, a year, and I was at the Cape sale, and I bought a horse called the Windy, and for 6,000 rand. And I mean, I didn't even have any money to pay for it. You know, I just really liked to have to phone my dad and said, Dad, I bought a horse. my dad used to say, all right, well, he said, I'll pay for it and you train it. I said, I said, okay, we'll do that. And we did that. He won 9 races. 9 races. He was here one of the first days he came to the track. Tony said to me, Jesus, Clodagh, where the hell did you find that? He said. He also said that to Fred about Donatella. I was in the Cape when Donatella was a 2-year-old. She was here. I didn't take her that year, and she had her first run in Maritzburg, and she had like a motley color coat, and it was summer, and her coat was like starry, standing up in the sun. And Tony was going to check a horse, and Fred was going to check a horse. And he said to Fred, God, Fred, what the hell is that? He said, don't worry about what the hell is that. And she wonder she liked. Went on to be a champion. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
No, I don't think you've got to spend big money. I think the big thing in racing at the moment is that the stakes to the prices of horses is a problem. In my day, if a horse won a maiden, it fed it for 9 months, which made a huge difference. It got the rank and file, that you got the people, not the only, I mean, I was very fortunate. I trained for Mike Rattray, I trained for Graham Beck, I trained for Gary Player, Robin Hamilton, and then I trained for a lot of very, very wealthy people. But it took me a while to get there, a lot of hard work to get there. When people are starting and you haven't got people just flocking to you and you're trying to prove yourself, syndicates, I guess, are the way that they're going, but there are a lot of people don't like syndicates because they don't want to be a 100 shareholder in a horse that they really got, well, they've got no say in and they got nothing. And I think if somehow we can get the stakes to, get it back to you win a maiden and it keeps your horse for 4 or 5 months, it's a help. It's a help,
Absolutely.
And encourages people to have more horses. Herman, when I worked for Herman Brown Senior, he always used to say to me, Clodagh, it's not only the very wealthy that it's the rank and file, because in those days we had a lot of rank and file. I had owners, they'd have half a share in 2 horses. They weren't rich people, but they'd have a share in 3 horses, 4 horses. They could afford that.
Sure.
Nowadays, to try and find people to do that is not that easy.
Yeah, no,
well, we hope. I mean, Cape Town now. I mean, the stakes.
They've got a huge incentive.
Yeah.
Don't they?
I'm sure it'll, with under the same banner, things might change.
Yeah. I see all the volleys are moving down there too.
Yeah.
They're also looking for the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge incentive, and I think whatever they've got, I didn't read it completely through, so correct me, but I think there's an incentive for the smaller trainers. If they win a race, they get
Yeah. I
think
X
there's
grand
something
and
to- yes,
second,
correct,
or
it is,
whatever
yeah,
the
they've
thing
got
is.
some
If you're in a
incentives,
category of, I think they've got categories with the snacks and the people at the top and the other people that are at the bottom that will get a bonus, I think, winning races. I think that's
I don't know
a
what
very
the
good.
exact is, but you're on the right
It's
line
on
there.
that
That's
sort of thing. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it seems like a good deal to me.
Absolutely. Okay, now you were telling us no brothers and sisters?
No brothers and
just
sisters,
you,
only
just
me.
you. Yeah, okay, and shame. And you were with your partner Les, who sadly passed away not so long ago. 23 years.
23 years, and he loved racing. He absolutely loved racing. He loved horses. He was passionate, about horses.
Shame. And
Absolutely
the
loved
cancer got hold of him.
5 months he was gone.
Absolutely.
Pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
5 months gone.
Yeah, we remember him fondly. Do we do, Les? And he was a golfer. Loved his
God,
golf.
golf. I love golf.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Clodagh, I think that's about it. We've covered all bases. Sure, it's just we could sit and talk for hours, but unfortunately we haven't got the hours.
Yeah.
But thank you to you. If you just give us a moment, I just want to just remind the public about the Stallion Day that's here at Summerfeld on Saturday. It's the Rabada Stallion Day. Will you try and get here?
I'll be here.
Lovely, fantastic.
I'll be here.
And of course, it's open to the public. It's the advertisement, the invitations on Sporting Post, on GoldCircle social media, having a chat to the organisers. The doors are open. You're most welcome. The only is it prerequisite is the right word? The only terms and conditions proviso is that you need to RSVP. So please go onto the Sporting Post, onto GoldCircle. If you need a WhatsApp, whatever it is, but you need to just RSVP for catering purpose. But it's open to everybody, and we welcome you here at the clubhouse on Saturday, the Bloomhill Stud Rabada Stallion Day. And then the other thing is just our condolences to the Akel family. Shame Anita Akel's husband, Ron. I don't know if you remember Ron Akel. He sadly passed away as well over the weekend. So our condolences go out to the Akel family, to Anita and Annika and Fred and the whole family. We only have fond memories of Ronald, who also owned some very top horses in his day. I remember one or two. The name escapes me. But
He used to. I'm trying to think.
competed in the July too, I think.
I mean, he was mixed up with all the old Clearwood stewards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So may his soul rest in peace to Ron Aken as well. But that's a wrap from all of us. It's been lovely chatting to Clodagh. It's been lovely to see you again. Have you been from the coast back home and then back here?
Yeah.
It's a lot of driving. You must be annoyed about that.
Very.
He's grumpy, Clodagh?
Yeah.
But we love him to bits, and we love you to bits too. But thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for loving the horses and for all that you did for racing and that you continue to do, because of course the rehoming and all the rest of it, and that also plays an integral part. And we'll see you more often at the clubhouse for coffee and
You will
chit-chats.
do. Will. Thanks for having me.
Lovely. To the whole team behind the scenes, it's been absolutely lovely, and we'll wish you all the best. Punt well, race well, be nice, and stay safe, and we'll see you at the Rabada Day on Saturday, and we will always see you in the number 1 box. Thank you for watching this week's episode of In the Box Seat podcast right until the very end. And we hope that you enjoyed it, because we certainly did. If you missed last week's podcast, In the Box Seat podcast with Andrew and myself, please go and watch it here. And last week's episode will be right there for you to go and enjoy and watch, as we know you will certainly enjoy In the Box Seat podcast from last week.